And there was a song by our guest band, which I forgot the title of at the moment, but you can remind me of after I do the introduction. So, anyways, we're back after our summer vacation. You know, Greg's always the party boy on the beach. So Greg, you might as well, because good old Goldenrod's getting me, you might as well do the introductions. You're on the spot.
Hey, thanks. Well, we've got our really good friend Steve Tortoretti with us again today, and he has brought us the members of Wale.
Oh, a couple members.
A couple members. The members that aren't afraid to come on the radio.
The ones that are still talking to
Wales
us.
was one of the greatest, one of the first great blues hard rock bands in the local area that I remember from the early 70s. So you guys can take it from there, but it was you guys. I listened to one of your discs. A friend of mine, I'm not sure if you know him, he's a guitarist, and I can't remember his name now, but he was a cousin of Mike Marconi. And he's a finance guy. Well, anyway, we had a band, and he gave me your Live at the Cornet Theater.
Oh, the Cornet Theater.
An old one.
So I have it.
New Year's Eve.
I could not find it. I was going to use it as a back thing, but I'll grab it sometime. I'm sure I know I have it because I saw it. So... But that was the Cornet Theater's not even around anymore. That was on Thurston Avenue, or Thurston Road. So anyway, maybe you can talk about that gig and go backwards or something like that.
Maybe you should say their names.
Yes, we'll say their names.
Yes.
I'm new at this hosting thing. What do you want from me?
Yeah. So here with us tonight, is Dave Barnes, who was the original drummer.
Yeah.
And Bob Murray, who was the original vocalist and harmonica player. Is that correct, Bob?
That's correct.
What else did you do?
And I always wore dark
I played
glasses.
the theremin.
The theremin.
I played the themin.
Okay. You know, if you want one, I actually have a used one for sale. It's in great condition. It's never been touched.
Yeah, they're hard to find now. They used to use them in the old monster movies.
You see what he did there? Never been touched.
So, what song was really good we played for the intro? What was that?
Oh. I don't know. Well, there were a couple of songs we talked about. Was What a Shame? Was that right?
Yep.
And also Midnight Lady. But Bob had one too that he was interested in having us play. Wasn't there another one, Bob?
No, I think that we settled on Midnight Lady, the studio.
Okay, yeah, the
studio remix.
The studios are quality. The live versions from Fantasy Swings they're a little weak. Yeah. The recording, not the band, but that's why I go with the studio.
I thought it said Midnight Lady in the lyrics from what I remember here.
I love Fantasy Swings.
And we will have a song at the end too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we played there 100 times.
You guys remember that band Dove? They used to play.
Oh yeah.
I love those guys.
Yeah, Syracuse, right?
Yep, they were the best.
Dave Hanlon on drums. Yeah, that was a good band.
So I was jogging the old memory, trying to come up with the next show, and I thought of the band Wale, who I used to go see all the time. Was one of my favorite bands back in the early to mid 70s. Fantasy Swings, Cornet Theater, where else?
Orange Monkey.
The Orange Monkey.
City Inn.
Penny Arcade.
I mean, all the top bars around Rochester that had live entertainment, and Wale played there back in the day.
Well, let me ask you this too, since I shared that era of playing. Well, that's kind of more like when I was starting out. You guys were a little older, so. And
I resent that.
Sorry, facts are facts.
Better to be a little older than not to be.
Not by much. Not by much.
A good day.
Yeah. Better to be seen than you.
Right. I'm 70, so you figure that out. So. Okay, so we're not too far apart. But the point is, top 40, dancey, AM radio crap was going on. FM was coming in, but so how was the response to you guys? Were people coming in? I mean, you had a crowd, you had fans, right?
Yeah, we had a really big following back in the day.
We got to backtrack a little bit though to how the band evolved.
Let's start. How did the band come together? What was your inspiration? How did you get started playing drums, David? And Bob, how did you start singing? Who were you have influences? Somebody that you admire?
Well, I started singing at the Vince Jan studio when I was in high school.
Oh, really?
Henrietta, right?
Out in Henrietta, and before I met Dave, I auditioned for a band called the Backstage Review. I was a horn player.
Really?
And
Trombone player.
Trombone.
Okay.
And we used to play Chicago, BS&T.
Yeah,
And what happened was they asked me if I could sing because they were just looking for harmonies. And next thing you know, the band ran over my trombone, and I was the lead singer.
Well, that's eventually when that morphed into Wale.
Did
Right?
they ever find the harmonies that they were looking for?
Yes, they found more than that. And then Dave showed up, and Dave, of course, he was a fantastic drummer, so we were thrilled to have him. And so we started moving more to the blues rock and away from the show band kind of music.
Well, we were playing 6 nights a week at the Living Room Lounge.
Oh, the famous living room, yeah.
We were the house band at the Living Room
That
Lounge.
was right down the street from me, on Carter.
Yeah,
there was
6 nights a week, play there, and then get up and go to work
Oh, yeah.
in the morning.
Yeah.
I remember those days.
You were at the phone company back then, right?
Rochester Telephone. And we had the keys to the Living Room Lounge.
Oh, jeez, really?
Yeah, because we go in there and rehearse.
The only thing we were told is don't get behind the bar, we'll break your fingers.
Right. You know,
when it came payday, there was always the bar bill.
Yeah, and they meant it, too.
one of my friends used to work there, Tom Giugardi, the guy from the car business.
Oh,
yeah.
He was friends with the owner, or related or something, and Andy and I both went to high school with him.
Yeah.
Okay.
How did the name come about? Because now when I was thinking of this, it could either be like, Moby Dick and Captain Ahab or Whale.
Well, that's W-H-A-L-E.
Yeah, but it's W-A-L-E.
Correct.
How did that come about?
Well, we had a manager. Her name was Fran
Walker.
And she was trying to get us on the Merv Griffin show.
Wow.
And instead of he asked her, well, what's the name of the band? And she was stumbling around looking for a name, and all of a sudden she just blurted out Whale.
Oh, jeez. That's how it works sometimes. That's how this whole game works in this business.
If you were to look it up in English dictionary or whatever, it's a colloquialism of 16th century blah 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 blah. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
why
who we are.
Pinto?
Right.
Why not?
And we didn't get on the Merv Griffin show, by the way.
No, but I think in a way it's short. You remember it?
I'm surprised you didn't spell it with an I. We
did.
We actually changed it later down the road to W-A-I-L.
Oh, okay.
That one went from there to that.
Ah, okay.
So it's W-A-L-E to W-A-I-L.
Dave's got a promo picture of the logo with W-A-I-L.
In hindsight, we should have kept the original spelling.
Yeah.
Because it confused the crowds, and so we played in Massachusetts a lot.
Yeah.
And I remember one particular club, he didn't realize the spelling had changed, and we showed up to a handful of fans versus the 1,000 people that used to show up.
I see.
He wasn't too happy with us.
Yeah.
So, Dave, how did you start playing drums?
Well, it's interesting. You used to work at Kodak. Kodak, correct?
Yeah.
My next door neighbor, he worked trick work at Kodak, and I would sit on one garbage can behind the garage and play the other 3 metal garbage cans, and he was.
So you were banging on garbage cans.
Doing that, started there, and didn't have a drum set.
I started on boxes.
Yeah,
to be honest with you,
boxes,
the very,
chairs,
very early days was boxes.
Anything you could beat on the head.
Yeah,
the countertop, you name it.
Yeah.
So went from there, and just eventually, got a drum set, but I'm from the era when first thing that kicked me off was Sandy Nelson, Let There Be Drums.
Oh, yeah.
What's
I had that.
Yeah.
And I was listening to older big band stuff, Buddy Rich, and Belson, and all that kind of stuff. But obviously, then the Beatles hit, and and that whole music scene changed. But
I'm a couple years younger. My dad came home one day with a Buddy Rich album, but I mean it was during the British invasion. It was like everything was the English bands, the Beatles, the Animals, the Stones, on and on and on. So I mean there was so many of us who wanted to sing, play guitar, play the drums, play the piano. we, you know, it was a mania. It was the truth to the name Beatlemania. It was like the kids were all into it. The guys were into playing instruments, and the girls were chasing everyone.
So I was playing all different types of music. I was overseas when I was in the Air Force for 4 years.
Okay.
And I came back and out for the first year, and all of a sudden, I'm walking to a place and I hear Jimi Hendrix.
Ooh.
I turn around and I go, wait a minute, what's that? That was like somebody come up and slap you in the face. You know, boing, and I went, boom, I know what I want to play now.
Okay.
And it was that venue and that type of music. And,
Mitchell on drums, quite a drummer, man.
Did Jimmy start out playing jazz?
Jimmy,
he was with the Isley Brothers.
He was on the Chitlin circuit, they used to call it.
Yeah.
The soul
Chitlin circuit.
Yeah.
Because that was it's always like Rochester's claim to fame on his big tour. This was like the one place he didn't sell out.
Right. He went by Jimmy James back then.
Well, actually, I went to that War Memorial concert, and it wasn't sold out.
Oh, were you there?
Yeah, I was there. That's when
I missed that one.
Jimi Hendrix, some guy was in the front, right up against the stage, screaming all the way through every song.
But
here, just the one with the monkeys were there?
He picked up one of Mitch Mitchell's drumsticks and walked up to the front and whipped it about 200 miles an hour and bounced it off his head, and the guy went boom onto the floor.
Right.
That was the end of that.
This is also, if you could remember within like a range, if you can remember, what did it cost to go to the concert?
$1.
Was that the one with the monkeys or no?
I don't know if they made this one in Rochester.
I
don't think it was. But the Rustics were on the bill. The Rustics.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were part of that show.
He must have come twice, though, because I know my cousin went to see him when the monkeys were playing. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Were they here with the monkeys?
They were. That was all part of the touring thing. That's what's so weird. They mismatched them so badly.
I think I might have been grounded that night.
Well, when we were in the backstage review, obviously doing Chicago, Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and all. And it was an 8-piece band. Okay. But then things started to morph, and eventually there was a what do you want to call it? A coup d'etat.
So some people left and some people stayed.
We were playing at the Orange Monkey and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden it was like, okay, we're starting to rehearse more of the mainstream stuff that we're doing, the heavier blues stuff. Rock, and all of a sudden one day it was okay, let's go into the woodshed and let's start playing all the stuff we want to do here.
And then we started writing our own tunes, so that was one of the things that was unique about the band, is that we had a whole repertoire of originals.
Yeah.
Okay.
See, I know. Yeah, I'm glad you guys are here because I had known nothing. I only know what I saw live and stuff. I never knew what the beginnings were.
Did you have to have therapy for that?
Years. Yeah, I tried to forget, but.
Well, it was Heineken therapy or something.
The one thing that's significant is that when we were a show band, our manager booked us in high schools all over Monroe County. So we would play the high schools.
Right. That was big back then.
That was really big, and when those kids graduated at 17 or 18, they flocked to the clubs.
I'll tell you, we used to go to
already had a fan base.
Edison Tech all the time had good bands.
Yeah.
Typical Blimp and all those guys.
Oh, yeah, it was back in the days of Rain and all that.
Rain.
Portable People.
Some
tons of bands.
There was garage bands all over the place.
You could Rochester. You could work 7 nights a week if you wanted to.
Then you could.
Sure, you could find live music 7 nights a week.
Yeah, did that for many years myself.
I remember what the drinking age was back then.
It was 18, which meant people were coming to clubs at 16 and a half, 17.
Yeah. And it wasn't as strict either, so that was like another thing.
It's funny going back to the living room lounge, because I started going to their Monday night jam thing that they had there, and I forgot who used to. They had a band there, but it was a jam night. And
you're talking about the trumpet player and sing Stormy Monday every Monday night. What's his name?
Probably. No. I started going in there and sitting in, and the guys were like, and I was underage, and the guys were like, well, you play pretty well. Blah, blah, blah. And it was just interesting because that's kind of like my beginnings. And I would just walk up to this place, go jam, walk home. Boy, that was fun, But those are my humble beginnings.
What about the Mardi Gras down in Charlotte? You guys play down the Mardi Gras at all?
Played the Mardi Gras, Penny Arcade.
Wow, yeah.
Hundreds of times over the years.
I was reading my friend Greg Prevost book about, and one of the things about Lake Avenue, what a happening scene that was in those days.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, there used to be a lot of bars. And they, I don't know, whatever reason they started cracking down, or maybe just prices, or I don't know what it was. But boy, between the Cave and all these other bars, and you
the shift went over to Henrietta. I mean, that strip there, it was like 8-9 places.
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
All the way down Jefferson Road, Red Creek.
Red Creek. Yeah.
Played Red Creek. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
we played them all down there.
Yeah.
One time or another. Yeah.
Red Creek was kind of tight.
Yeah.
Kind of like this setting here.
Yeah, this is a little tight.
Is that true about, I've always heard like sometimes grease would drip down to the dressing room from the kitchen at Red Creek?
We didn't play there enough to have
the dressing room was a mess, I can tell you that.
I used to hear that.
I did one gig there. We opened up for Rick Derringer with that band I was in with Mancuso, with Don Mancuso. And it was like, they stuck us in this little, like this, we had no space, but... And we went down there, man. It was wet. It was like real nasty down there. I remember that. So yeah, I don't know if it was grease, but it was something.
So the best dressing room we ever played in was
Fantasy Swing.
No. Well,
Beginnings.
In
Chicago.
Chicago owned a club called Beginnings.
Oh, the band Chicago.
Right.
Yes. You're right. And
downstairs, with the whole velvet curtain stage and spotlights. Beautiful club, all chrome and glass in the dressing room.
Wow.
Couches, table, kitchen, shower.
Wow.
Nickel-plated dance floor.
Yeah. That was it.
Damn.
Let's go back a little because we just sort of like brushed over about your beginnings, about how the whole band came together, how you started getting popular and playing everywhere.
So you had, 2 guitars, bass, and drums, and a lead vocalist. You had,
Bob also playing harmonica.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Dale Croston?
Croston.
Dale Croston was the bass player?
Yeah, he was a good player.
Yeah. Michael Marconi on lead guitar.
Yeah.
Right.
And Dave
Munkoff.
Also lead and rhythm. They used to probably switch off and do some harmonies. And then after Michael left, was it Mike
Mike Banzef was in the band originally.
Okay.
He was a horn player.
I see.
And went from the backstage review, and then he started doing some rhythm guitar and was still adding some horn things in. But eventually.
So after Michael left,
Dave Munkoff came in and took Mike Banzef's slot, and Mike Banzef was gone.
Okay, I see. So I got you. All right. So it would have been Dale, Michael, and Dave Munkoff, and you and Bob.
Right.
Okay.
I remember that Dale was a really good bass player. I used to like watching him music. I got into it.
Yeah.
Are any of these other guys still in the music business?
Well, we tried to get a hold of Dave Munkoff, and I can't find him anywhere.
Last time I saw him was in Florida, in Cocoa Beach, that's where he lived.
And I tried to get a hold of Michael Marconi through. He's still around. Rick Hausman is a friend of mine and former co-worker at Kodak, and Rick's wife is cousins with Michael. And
I know he's doing carpets or something. That's what he was doing.
He's done that for years.
Yeah, he's had that business.
So I got in touch with Rick, but to no avail. I was never able to connect. They never got back to me. I called him talked to him a couple times, Rick that is, and didn't work out. So. Sorry, kids.
Just I'm hearing one Shane,
we got the guys we got.
which I thought was really good. And it sounded to me like heavy, like Blue Cheer, Humble Pie-ish type thing.
We used to play Humble Pie.
Yeah. It was. That's what it was like. Yep.
I love the irony of Humble Pie because it was both with Frampton and Marriott.
Yeah.
I always I would have loved to have seen them live because I can imagine the musicianship.
They were balls to the wall.
They
was
were
a great rock band, no doubt.
I saw them 2 times.
But how was that? How was some of your interaction with some of these bands? I think there's an Alice Cooper story. I think you were telling me out.
Yeah. Well, you want to get into that now?
See, we did the always dodging the Yellow Jackets. We told the best stories. Oh God.
Well, we were at Fantasy Swings.
Yeah, and all of a sudden Alice Cooper and their entourage pull in and pull up to a table.
They were playing at the War Memorial the next day.
You know what? I was at that show with Alice Cooper, and I believe then I went to the Fantasy Swings when they were there.
Well, this is the night before.
The night before.
They rolled in, a limo pulled in, and
I was at both.
And they came in, and unbeknownst to us at that particular time, they were watching us play, but
they had their eyes on somebody.
Yeah, they had their eyes on
Michael.
Mike Marconi, because Glenn Buxton was
he was having some issues.
Yes, he was having some issues to the point where they put his amp on standby, and somebody else was behind the curtain playing it.
Oh, no kidding.
According to all the the rumorville. But,
Well, he was drinking a lot, I think.
Yeah, he had some issues.
I think that happened with Johnny Ramone on one of the last tours too. I think it was
song.
more an argument though, was he didn't play. They had some guy playing behind the amp for him.
Well, so they came in and were scouting.
No, we're there at
Michael.
4:00 in the morning. Well, they were playing at the
War
Memorial the
Memorial.
next day.
Okay.
They had their plane parked over on the separate part of the airport, which
Yeah.
was painted like a Budweiser can, 4-engine turbo prop. That's when Budweiser was sponsoring me because Alice would drink a case before we went on stage.
Yeah, I think so. Alice waves me over and asked me to give him harmonica lessons at the table. So
At the table.
I sat down there and played a little harmonica, and he said that he had a lesson from Stevie Wonder a week or so before.
Is that right?
But they carried him out like a log that night.
Is that
He was horizontal.
Yeah, no
So-
kidding. Wow.
And I remember some other things that went on that night, Dave.
Their manager went to pay for the bill.
Yeah.
Because they said, don't bring the bottles to the,
Yeah.
we'll mix our own.
Not one at a time, but
Right.
bring the bottles.
And they were at 4:00 in the morning, came to pay the bill, and he opened up this briefcase that was like stacks and stacks of 100.
Jeez,
I mean, he probably had $100,000 with him.
Oh my God.
There's the bill, there's the tip. They weren't fussy about throwing the money away.
I
This was
remember.
Alice before the Gulfy Alice.
Yes.
too.
Oh, yeah.
Other
Yeah.
things.
Before the
And
Hollywood Squares or anything.
we have like
Right.
a real genuine band here with us because we were talking about, well, we're not going to talk about these things we did, which we won't talk
Well,
about.
that was half the
Statute
fun
of
back then.
limitations is over. So
Yeah, we can talk. We can tell the stories.
Yeah, I mean that was all. That's what it was all about, man. I was reading the Jim Gordon book, and
Does he tell who
The
Batman
drummer,
is?
session drummer, Jim Gordon.
Drums and Demons, yeah. And I mean,
Played with everybody.
once he got into the California scene, that was all about that.
Yeah.
I mean, Mad Dogs and Englishmen, people
Right.
bringing their girlfriends and their dogs and their people in the hotels and then fighting and swapping girlfriends and all kinds of stories, crazy stuff.
But it'll all be in the book, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Sadly, he had a mental breakdown, and he ended up killing his mother and spending life in prison.
He died in prison. Yeah.
He died in prison. Yeah.
Well, that's not a good outcome.
No, he
That's not a
sadly.
good tone.
No.
But I mean,
And he was an incredible drummer too. He was
not
with
to take
everybody.
away from, but when I looked at that book and I'm reading all these things he played on,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, he was part of the Derek and the Dominoes,
yeah, but
right?
even before that, he was playing on Sonny and Cher songs and this and that.
He was a session dude.
But that brings me to a point, like Dave and I and all the guys that grew up in that era, when we were learning all these top 40 songs, we had no idea, at least I didn't, that we were learning from these masters.
Well, I
that we're
didn't either.
copying these parts from these master
Right.
players, and that all becomes part of your style, even though you don't realize it.
I think you
and
broke
it's
in,
an
though. The
interesting
thing is,
thing.
rock was still fairly young.
Sure.
It's been around maybe, 20 years or so. It's
Yeah.
been evolving, so it's still this new format.
Right.
When did
It's
rock
really
start?
exciting and fresh.
55?
You could say around there. I mean, earlier. It
Was
depends.
that
if you wanna-
BC?
Yeah, when dinosaurs roamed the
We'll
earth.
say a little bit. Don't say you're
Well,
roll around.
You can see it in the TV shows and things. Everything had to be hip, and everything had to have
Yeah.
rock music, and
Yeah.
like everything had to be about beatniks and
You're
drugs
right,
and
though.
shit.
It was still in its infancy. I mean, the Sun Sessions were mid-50s.
Yeah.
The British Invasion and the American groups were early to mid-60s. So I didn't know how to read. I was learning from the records. So I put on my headphones, and I'd be playing along with the records to learn my parts. I wore out the Collections album by the Rascals, who are still my favorite. Still one of my favorite
Yeah, that's a great
albums.
record.
Dino Danelli. I mean, my God, it doesn't get too much better than Dino. He was an incredible musician, a credible drummer, and I just loved his playing and his showmanship. That was the other half of Dino. It was the showmanship. I mean, twirling the sticks. I emulated his. There was a thing he used to do where he'd jump up and come down on the cymbals to end a song. And when I was with Circus, and I think I've told this story 1,000 times, you're going to hear it one more. But when I was in Circus with Jimmy C, and Jimmy would turn to me at the end of a song, and we'd count down the ending, and I'd jump up out of my seat, and Jimmy would jump up, and and he was our vocalist, and we both come down at the same time, and then I'd hit the cymbals for the ending of the song. That was from Dino Danelli. I mean, everybody takes a little bit from somebody that they admire, you know, and this is how you learn, you pass things on to the next generation. Even the Beatles did it. I mean, McCartney was copying Little Richard. Those screams that McCartney did on the early albums, those are Little Richard.
The Beatles were totally influenced by everything that was going on.
Buddy Holly,
made it their own.
Buddy Holly.
Sure.
And
the Everly Brothers. I mean, they influenced a lot of the British bands, the American bands.
Who Jim Gordon toured with.
Jim Gordon was in there, too.
You can almost go back to rock. I've heard like one song, 1949, then you'll hear Rocket 88 by Ike Turner, but, you know, around the 50s.
Oh, yeah, like Tina Turner.
Yeah. But rock.
We ran into them when we were playing up in Boston. A place called the Empire Room, which is a big place that maybe 1,000 people, but next to it was a 2-story hotel. Every band in Boston, or was playing in Boston, there was a musician's hotel. So everybody starts showing up at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning after their gigs, whatever, and the place would be going until 7 o'clock in the morning. Instruments and small amps and almost all the rooms. You walk down all of a sudden Tina Turner's walking out after they were playing.
Yeah.
Jam session non-stop. You walk into some place and every room's packed with people.
Meeting Duran.
They would lock that hotel at a certain hour, and I remember we were out. We had to steal a ladder from a construction zone and climb up to the second story to get in.
How did the progression happen from local clubs to touring like that?
Well, we started. We had agents. We had Bob Marley's agent and DMR in Detroit.
Yeah.
And I used to call to check on gigs, and I'd say, "This is Bob Murray from Wale," and they thought I was Bob Marley. So I got right through, and then they would always laugh when they realized who it was.
Yeah, where'd you get that accent?
Then we had an agent. Charlie Leone hooked us up with an agent in Boston, which is what led us to play with Aerosmith on quite a few gigs.
Nice.
And then we had Music Shop International in Canada, and they booked us all across Canada. And Canada is an interesting story because back in the Fantasy Swing days, that's when cable TV first hit the scene.
Yeah.
And the House of Guitars used to advertise on cable TV.
Right.
And Sam Casanova, who owned the Fantasy Swing, was using Wale as his advertisement for the club. So every Saturday night, there was Wale on the TV with our picture. And what we didn't realize is it was being broadcast all across Canada free.
Wow.
Nice promo.
So when we got to Canada, we already had a following.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd pull off the road on the way to Windsor in some small hick town to get gas, and the kid at the gas pump would say, "You guys are Wale."
I seen the dudes.
So,
aren't you Bob Marley?
Yeah, I'm Bob Marley.
That's pretty cool.
What's that in your hand?
Well,
is that a doobie?
that's a good example of.
And after a while in Detroit, I remember Dave and the rest of us cruising in there on our big old Cadillac Brougham, and we were on the radio. Somebody had a bootleg tape of us, and they were broadcasting it on the radio in Detroit.
What kind of feeling is that, though? You're playing on. That song sucks.
Feeling like you're not getting paid. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, the fact that we never had a real solid record deal.
Yeah.
But it was still interesting to hear ourselves on
they were
the
handing
radio.
out record deals, dime a dozen, but you had to, we'll give you a $5 deal as long as you tour for the next 50 years.
Yeah.
With that being said, how much quality material outside of the live stuff, not that the songs were bad live, but obviously you're in the studio, so it comes out, you get a quality recording. How much studio stuff do you have? And is it possible to put together an EP, an LP, CD, vinyl?
I think most of our stuff is novice recording. And the problem is we were on the road so much that when we got into the studio, we had to learn a whole different method of playing, and like instead of me singing as loud as I could because I couldn't hear myself think on stage, in the studio, all of a sudden I realized, I had to pull back, and not staying with Dave on the drums and the other players. So we just started to get into the studio to do some recording. I think it was done on Atlantic Avenue there.
Yeah.
Oh,
PCI.
Right. But we never really got enough time to record all the tunes that we wrote. So we had the basement tapes, they were called.
Yeah.
I had a house out in Greece, and what we would do is put different instruments, those speakers, in different rooms.
Okay.
But it was all connected to a recording board. So a couple of those tapes turned out pretty good, but I wouldn't, it wasn't our best work.
But I remember, too, image-wise, you guys were outstanding. Because I remember, Bob, I remember you, I just seem to remember sunglasses, you had the long hair, and you just had that sort of lazy approach, swaying back and forth, saying, I don't know, that's what I remember. You just had a really cool stage presence. And, and obviously, Mr. Barnes here beating his brains out back there. And then, the guitar players, you had the Marshalls and all that, what was going on the day, right? I mean, it was just the quintessential, what I envision as a cool, hippie-ish rock band.
Well, I'll say this, David Barnes, he really was a great lyricist. I mean, he could come up with lines that would just floor you right off the top of his head.
Wow, that's awesome.
And
well, he's a good storyteller, too.
Yes. And but
when I was little,
well, it started way back.
I always thought he was the best drummer I'd ever worked with, and so.
Well, thanks, Bob.
That's okay, Dave.
Here's
the money in the brown paper bag.
After all these years, you can tell it.
Yeah, Dave and I have stayed. We stayed close for years now.
Yeah, we've been friends for what? 50.
Over 50 years, we've been friends.
Wow. How did you come about writing the lyrics? I'm fascinated by the songwriting process. I've talked to so many friends who do it.
It depends what happens on the road.
I would say that
a
lot of times what would happen is we'd start out just jamming. We used to write tunes on stage live by just jamming, and it got to the point where the band almost knew what each other was going to do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was the best part about it.
Staying
together that long. All you had to do was just give somebody, not a word, just give them a look, and you go, oh, we know where we're going.
That's the biggest thing with bands, though. It's chemistry.
Yeah.
That's it. You can be great players if you don't have the chemistry.
With lyrics, you usually you have to have a story to tell.
Yeah, and you got to tone down your
and
Jane's Addiction and get beat up on stage.
All I could think of when I saw this, all I could think of was Oasis is reuniting. Jane's Addiction.
That just happened, right?
Yesterday.
Oh, my God.
They had to cancel the concert. They got a fight right in the middle of the stage.
You were talking about that Alice Cooper thing. When I was, this is a weird story. So I was playing with this lame band at the Americana back on State Street.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Remember Vic Platty?
Sure.
Okay. He was
So
my
I was
neighbor.
playing with
Vic Platty and Newport Church.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
was with them while I was at Nazareth. So I do that on the weekends. And in walks Aerosmith, or a couple of them. There was Steven Tyler and Joey Kramer were there, and I talked to Joey Kramer at a table. He seemed pretty out of it. He wanted to know where all the girls were. I said, well, I told him to go to Fantasy Swings because I didn't know anything else to say. So, and I remember Steven Tyler was just at the bar, working the room, and that. But those things happen. That's where they were staying, so they come down and see what the hell's going on. And I'm so embarrassed. I'm playing in this rinky-dink band with a leisure suit on, So. I want to be like you.
Well, Aerosmith actually used our equipment for the first.
Yeah, first time we were in Boston. Anyway.
We were in Boston at a club called KK Katie's, and apparently. Some thugs had broken into their rehearsal hall and stole all their gear.
Wow.
So the agent called us up and said, "Hey, look, instead of you guys playing all night, can you just do an hour and let Aerosmith use your equipment for their showcase?"
Yeah.
And that's when Connolly was their manager. Mm-hmm. And so we showed up at KKK's in the middle of the afternoon and then walked to Aerosmith, and they were just, when they saw our equipment, they were flipped out because back in the day we had some big stuff.
Huge refrigerator cabinet.
We had the voice of the theaters and all this.
Yeah.
And then we had the analog 16-track mixing board, which back then was wow.
Dick Carey built all that,
Dick Carey, I haven't heard that name.
Oh, yeah, I know Dick Carey.
Yeah, so
great guy.
That started out, and then we ended up playing Revere Beach and a bunch of other gigs with them, and they were great guys.
I didn't know you really toured all that much.
Yeah, and I remember I was at Steve Tyler's apartment in Brookline, and I always was taken by the fact that his phone was made up of a bunch of different phone color pieces. Of course, I'd been in the phone business previously. So
that's right.
That was interesting.
Yeah. Was there anything left of your equipment by the time they got done?
No, that was good.
It was good.
They took care of it. They respected your equipment.
You can go from Boston over to Syracuse. We were playing with Ronnie Montrose, and Sammy Hagar was the lead singer.
Yeah.
And they were using our equipment, and we were the warm up, and then they came out and do it. And Sammy Hagar was into the high karate kicks, and he jumped up about maybe 3 feet in the air, like he said, boom. His foot went right through the speaker.
I think he didn't like the monitors on the floor, so he put a hole through one of them.
Stumbled right through that.
But they did pay us for it.
There's a story. There's actually a story from Steven Tyler's book. I guess where the Stones would play like in Boston or other. He would get into the shows for free because he'd go up, had the cojones to tell the door guy, "Hey, I'm Mick's brother," and they believed it.
Yeah,
Mick's brother. Yeah.
Yeah, those guys were cranking. I thought about that.
And actually, Syracuse brings up a thing because I posted "What a Shame" on Facebook, and my good friend Mr. Brian Pete, he's the drummer for the Tombstone Ants. He liked it immediately. He goes, "There's a great band. I saw them all the time in Syracuse."
Must have been the Brookside.
Yeah, we were on the circuit there. You start in Rochester.
Did you see this weird guy with the beard standing behind there?
You mentioned Syracuse a lot. What about Buffalo?
Oh, yeah.
Out to Buffalo, too?
Oh, yeah, we played Buffalo a lot.
We played Keystone 90s in Lockport, and then on Hurdle Avenue, there was a club.
Oh, Hurdle.
Remember?
I've worked down on Hurdle a lot. I just laughed.
The bottom line is, when we do pick up, we go out for maybe 5-6 weeks, and you start west, Buffalo, then Detroit, Chicago, cross over.
Wow.
Being every place, place you can ever think, all the way across Canada, all the way to Toronto, then spend like 2 weeks in Toronto playing different places on Yonge Street, and then scoot over come back around, and then
it's a lot of driving.
Hit Boston after cross over, and back down there and towards New York City. Then we went down to Long Island. Oh, you were talking about Long Island.
I was.
Yeah, that was right. Yeah. My father's place. We played. You know where that is in Roslyn?
No.
Oh, that was a great big joint.
What was the time frame of all this? Like 3-4 year period? Or?
8 years.
8 years.
We were
8 years. You guys were together?
Yeah, 8 years.
Did you play Central New York a lot? A little. So I read Ronnie James Dio book, so I just know all about. A lot of them were modeled, like a lot of the clubs in Central New York.
After a while, we stopped doing the towns that were off the main drag because it wasn't really our type of audience.
Right.
So we said we want to do the cities.
So like the Blues Brothers movie with the chicken wire in front of the stage.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It wasn't quite that bad, but
those places are out there, though.
Well, y'all would pay you $300, you drink $400 worth of beer.
Well, there you go.
A
lot of places that came time to pay. Oh, and here's the bar bill.
Yeah.
Being on the road, I was actually talking to my friend Alex Cote, who plays Michaela Davis, and I was just asking him, Alex, how do you like all this traveling? Because they're touring all over the place, and right now he loves it because he's young. And I used to love running. I used to love taking road trips, traveling when I was younger. Now trying to get me out to Webster. Yeah. But how was that traveling? Did you enjoy being on the road?
Yeah. You guys were what, in your mid-20s?
Yeah.
How was the car? Did you have any issues?
Big Cadillac. It was beautiful.
Cadillac.
So you had to fill it up with gas every 2 blocks.
Gas was cheap back then. Let me tell you something. 5 cents a gallon.
That I don't know if it was a 429 or what it was in that Cadillac, but with a full load of we could still burn rubber down the street.
You probably pay $40 for each trip or something.
The bottom
I found some gas receipts when I was looking through contracts.
Yeah.
And back in the day, I would see gas receipts for $2. I still have them in a zip bag.
You mentioned earlier on the porch before we came in your contracts. Have you got any contract stories?
I got a pile of Wale contracts. One was from a club we played in Canada.
At least you had them.
And they paid us $2,250 for 5 nights. Back then.
5 nights. Okay.
So I went online and I said, "What's $2,250 from 1974 by today's dollars?" And it's $11,500.
Wow.
So I'm not sure that anybody out there is keeping up with that kind of compensation.
I think some of the bands are.
That's the case. They owe us money.
I've heard recently some of the party bands that in and around the Rochester area are bringing in some. But they have a draw.
Go play,
and I've always said, if you're putting asses in the seats, you're bringing people in. You can name your price within reason, but you can name your price and make a good dollar playing these one-night stands today in and around the Rochester area.
That ends up being about what, $3,500 maybe then? If it's 11,000 now,
it was $2,250 back in '74.
It's a little over $500 a night.
Yeah.
Then we started migrating. Then I kind of took over as the manager because we were having some holes in our schedule and we didn't like that. We wanted to make sure we were booked.
Yeah.
And we started to ask for the gate. Which like at Orange Monkey, he wasn't about to give up the gate. That was a fight. So we moved over. We moved over to Fantasy Swing.
Yeah.
And then Penny Arcade, Greg Sullivan down there, he gave us the gate, and so he was happy to have the bar.
Yeah.
There's a story in Lou Graham's book about the band Black Sheep playing. I think it was the Orange Monkey, where they packed the place. So this was in when were they together? Right around the same time you guys.
Yeah, it was the same time.
Mid-'70s somewhere. And they packed the Orange Monkey, and at the end of the night, Lou was all excited, and this is in the book. And I guess he goes to the owner and says, "Man," he goes, we packed the place. It was a great night. He was all excited, and he'd give us another gig, man. Plug us in for another date." And the owner looked at him and said, "What are you kidding?" He goes, "I lost money on you guys tonight. Everybody was sitting down. No one was drinking. It was like a concert. So the guy lost money paying them."
Oh, yeah.
So they never went back.
No, they drank when we played.
Okay.
That was Pierre.
As a matter of fact, by the end of the first set, we'd cut the set short. Say, "You're not drinking. You're not having any fun. Okay, we'll take a break."
Yeah, right.
Then we come back there.
Now we
they
also
walk around with trays with shot glasses.
We also had another trick we would use. If we played a club and there wasn't a very big crowd, we felt bad for the owner because he was going to pay us anyways. So we'd buy the whole place a drink.
Yeah.
And then it would light up.
Good for you guys.
Yeah. We did that all the time.
It's a nice promotional.
I think it's called goodwill too.
Yeah.
Goodwill.
You buy a little drink, and they're all looking at the thing.
Using addiction to your advantage.
My problem.
We're playing all over the place.
My problem would be with that would be I'd be going around. Don't see that bad. So I could go in. Give me my drink. Did you hear the story about ZZ Top? The first gig they ever played, there was one guy to see the show, and Billy Gibbons goes, "Well, we bought him a Coke afterwards because we were glad he stayed for the whole thing." Could you imagine being that person and having that story? It's like
that is a great story.
I was at that show.
Listen, we played a bar in Detroit, and they'd never heard of us. So it was a small bar. There was probably only 25 people there, and we let it all out. Yeah. We played the hell out of the place, and the owner went crazy. So we got a lot of gigs out of that one.
That's cool.
I think that's a part of professionalism because I've had friends who played shows. It would be like me, giving you like a couple people coming in. And Greg, you just get some of those nights. Just one of those nights that hits when nobody's out.
Yeah.
And I see bands being even better. That's because they're just they give their all.
Not that many people. That's a good time to jam too.
Yeah. And you go and play stuff you want.
Get some new tunes.
But that's what I always say. Like the great bands I see, you look. And it could be there's 10 people there. They make you feel like you're the coolest people.
You know what? You play your head off for those 10 people because those 10 people know 10 other people, and next time around you're going to get more people.
But I said about the Flesh Tones. Whenever I see them, they give the vibe that you could be 34 people there for one show, be a lot more people further. You feel like you're at the place that night.
Right.
There could be like something going on at the War Memorial. 12,000 people will always be the War Memorial to me. You feel like you're at the right place.
Yeah, we played there a couple times.
So when Michael Marconi got the tap to go with Alice Cooper Band, Where did that leave you guys?
We weren't too happy about it, to be honest with you, and the crowd wasn't happy either.
Yeah.
We were playing the Thurston Theater, and they tried to break down the dressing room door to beat him up.
Is that right?
And I had to pull out my garage spring and give a couple whacks.
So that was his last night when that happened?
That was a New Year's Eve gig. That wasn't his last night. But
the word was out that he was leaving?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was going with that, and, that's...
Can't blame him, I guess.
Right?
But
Alice was gone by then.
But, yeah.
It was just
the band. It was going to be the $1 billion babies.
That
So,
it wasn't
that was a whole different... No,
Alice was gone.
Alice
killed.
So they were trying to put a separate band together.
The $1 billion baby band.
Yes. That's what it was.
Which is the name after where the tour did, the $1 billion baby.
And his album. He had an album, $1 Billion Baby.
Correct.
And it was probably a song, too, I think, if I'm not
It's
mistaken.
$1 billion baby.
Yeah. So Michael went with them, and where did that leave you guys? Who replaced
So we had
them?
an opening, and I think
that's when we went to Syracuse and saw the lunatic.
Rhino the Dino.
Reinhard Straub.
The violin player.
Electric violin player.
Oh, you decided to go in that route?
Well, no.
We had him up to jam.
Okay.
He showed up in a big long coat like he was living on the street and pulled out his violin, and he just blew everything away. He fit right in.
Really?
See, no, Reinhardt could play whatever the lead guitar player was playing. He would harmonize it, just like it was another guitar player.
Yeah.
And he had some pedals that he used it, but this guy, saw it away and.
That I don't remember, so I'm
glad
you brought it up.
Yeah, and he was a definite asset once.
So he joined the band.
He joined the band, and then it was a single guitar. Dave Munkoff went into the lead slot, playing all the leads.
Okay.
And Reinhardt was verbatim. This guy could play verbatim.
Okay.
Found the octave, found the harmony, and just went right along for the solos. And he was, crazy guy out front.
He had actually played with the Syracuse Symphony Orchestra.
Wow.
And so I was dressed, and the rest of the band like the Aerosmith guys. Yeah. He would show up with a 3-piece suit.
No, it's ratty green tuxedo.
Yes, like a ratty green tuxedo. And then it got into all these stage antics where we had these breakaway whiskey bottles and all that, and we'd get into a fight on stage, and I'd whack him in the head with a Jack Daniels bottle.
His mouth and fall down
and he'd fall down, and a couple times the crowd tried to get up and kill me.
Is that right?
They thought I really hit him with a real bottle.
That's actually one of my weird, rare skills. I know how to gig a bottle from pro wrestling. How you can do one, it won't hurt you.
Well, if you never made of sugar.
Yeah, that's what you did. You dipped them, you boiled them.
Yeah.
Yeah, these things you had to be careful not to swing them too fast because the handle would break off on the way down.
Yeah,
we used to buy them.
Swung it so fast the handle broke off. It's a bad dude.
Yeah, we bought them from theatrical supply, Hoffman and Sons.
That's a cool idea.
But the first time we ever saw Reinhardt, he was with a band called the Buddy Greeley Band in Syracuse, which is a power trio, and Reinhardt, 4-piece. We went there, saw him, and this place we saw him, I can't remember, but they had bleachers. And then the band was on a stage. And anyway, here's Reinhardt. We'd never seen him before. And this guy started, before even the set, he had a bottle of Jack on the floor.
Oh. So he's knocking down some Jack Daniels?
Right out of the bottle. And then halfway through it, the second set, now the bottle's like 3/4. And now we're going.
Wow.
We're sitting there watching him, and he is just like
staggering all over.
He's playing. He fell down, crack his head, blood spurting out his forehead. Kept right on away, man. That guy was.
He was something. He really was unique. He would run out into the audience.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I had a 100-foot mic cord, so I could run out into the audience.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, in Toronto, we played Piccadilly Tube, which is now Eaton Center, but it was a club on Yonge Street.
Yeah.
And we promoted the gig by renting a truck and getting some fans to blow up 2,000 balloons that said Wale at Piccadilly Tube, and then we drove down Yonge Street in the middle of lunch hour and let all the balloons go all over Yonge Street, and it made the news.
Yeah, that's cool.
So we actually got our gig extended for another week. We did 2 weeks in a row at Piccadilly twos, but
It's
I
great
remember
promotion.
I remember walking up the stairs and standing in the crowd with the mic down, and they didn't know, and the band would be playing downstairs, and then all of a sudden I'd jump out with the blues harp and start playing.
Wow.
And the Canadians went.
Yeah.
They liked the band.
So you must have had a budget. Did you have a budget for props and things, extra cables and
Budget?
back then?
Yeah,
is that a 5-letter word?
Yeah. Did you have some kind of a
4-letter
thing,
word.
like something set aside to buy all these props?
Yeah,
or
we
did you
just
pick
reach
it up?
into the bucket and take some cash
Yeah,
out.
that's right. Yeah, we just were
you
rolling
could-
the dough there.
listen,
You
we-
know,
Go to your
we didn't
party
pay any
store.
bills, but
Yeah, right.
We used to hide our money in the garbage can in the hotel room. We
Oh,
take
man.
we take the liner out, put the cash underneath, and a couple times the maids found it and got all flipped out.
No kidding.
Right.
I was finding like $1,000
Thought
bucks.
you were gangsters or something?
It scared them.
Yeah.
Or we'd get, let's go get $50 $1 bills and be in the middle of a song, and throw it at the audience on the dance floor.
I would have thrown Monopoly money.
Wow. It's
Or
funny.
you know what
funny
you should
with
have
the
done?
balloons.
What you should have done is get
Yeah, that
money
really
with your
worked.
faces on it.
Couldn't get away with that now.
No, you couldn't.
I was going to ask this question. We asked this a lot just for humor, and we've retired the fishhook story of Greg's for a while.
The what?
But the fishhook story, the
Oh my
fishhook
God! Do I have
story.
to tell that again?
No, you don't have to tell. We've retired it.
So you
But
retired it? Okay, good.
Yeah, for now, for a couple of years.
Okay.
Story,
But
yeah.
do you have any? We're going to tell you after the show. But do you have any good, really interesting stories when things went bizarre on stage? You had to keep playing.
Oh, yeah.
Stage is falling down or something.
How about
right
this?
now.
How about this one? Playing in a hotel in Toronto.
Big
Now,
place.
if you knew well, you knew we used to blow up bombs on stage.
Oh, yeah.
We had flash bombs and we had actual gunpowder that would be, they'd push a button and the flame would go all the way up to the ceiling and down again.
Yeah, before,
So one night,
before that was dangerous. Yeah.
one night we're
Yeah.
playing in this hotel club down in the basement of the hotel, and the flame shoots up and it goes into the cold air return.
Oh, jeez.
And so we're playing, and all of a sudden, all these firemen come running in and running up on stage, and the crowd thought it was part of the show. But we had set the dust on fire.
The dust. I was going to
So
say
the hotel. So they're spraying up into the ceiling while we're playing.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
there's a sailing story I just remembered.
Yeah.
We're playing in the Buttercup in right outside of Boston. The week before was, or 2 weeks before, was Joe Savage, and part of his act was he had this big boa constrictor snake.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had some flash bombs or so, whatever. The snake got into the false ceiling and they couldn't find the damn thing. They had to go out. They were on the road, so they took off.
Snake was loose when we had to play the next
Oh,
week.
my God.
So now we're playing. I'm my drum set, like, I'm waiting for this thing to drop on my head,
Yeah.
and eat me. But about a week later, they found him in the beer cooler room,
In the beer cooler,
wrapped around
drinking
with a
some
pole
beer.
there.
Yeah.
With a big lump in his stomach. He ate the cat.
You got something?
He ate the cat?
He ate the club's cat.
There's been a lot of stories about cats being eaten lately,
Yeah,
but we're not going to go there.
It's not a political show.
No, we try to avoid that stuff.
So after you got the violin player,
Right.
the fiddle, how do you want to call him?
He's like the violin player.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So how long was he in the band? And I'm guessing that it was like towards the end of the band, towards your final days.
Yeah, I think he
this
was
fella.
he probably 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
Oh, 3 years. That's a long time.
Heading towards 3 years.
Yeah.
So how did that happen? How did the wheels fall off, so to speak?
The wheels fall off. That's a good way to put it.
By today's, it's called embezzlement.
Yes.
The money,
Embezzlement's the magic word.
the money root of all evil.
we had this. I don't remember his last name because I hate him so much. But
Jim,
his first name was Jim. He claimed to be the road manager for Bachman Turner Overdrive, and he said he was going to make us famous. So
we got all hooked up through this through Music Shop International while we were working.
So we had a corporate account at Royal Bank of Canada, and we also had a corporate account in Rochester with a company, Central Trust. Now, we actually were a corporation.
Yeah.
It was called Wale Entertainment Corporation.
Okay.
So when this guy took over, he's handling the books and
the
allegedly paying our bills. But what he was doing is pocketing all of the cash from the clubs and kiting checks. He would write a check out of our U.S. account and deposit it in the Royal Bank account, and then wait 4 or 5 days, write a check from the Royal Bank, put it in the U.S. account.
Yeah.
And he had a company car that we gave him. And the bottom line is, we went on to do like 30, not one nighters, but 2 nighters, whatever. Well, from here to Chicago and back, and that's when we came back. And where's Jim?
Well, what happened was we had just purchased a truck.
Yeah.
So I knew that there wasn't much money in the bank, and my wife at the time got the bank statement and said, "Hey, you got $5,000 in the bank." I said, "That's not possible." So I called the banker, and he all of a sudden uncovered the crime.
Right.
So basically, by today's dollars, we were into the bank for a couple $100,000.
Wow.
So you had 5,000 in the bank. It should have been more. You're saying
way more.
Way more.
No, there shouldn't have been anything close to that because we spent it all on the truck. And we were just breaking into the Detroit market, so we weren't making the big bucks like we were.
So you were getting dead checks that weren't worth anything or something?
He was writing checks and then cashing them himself.
Back and forth. So but it's not like the internet today.
So yeah, he'd make deposits back and forth, and he'd write himself a check and take cash out.
Right, I see. Okay.
But he disappeared.
So to make a long story short, we, being the nice guys that we were, we signed the demand note, and it got to the point where we couldn't afford to stay in business. And so the band ended at the Orange Monkey with a packed house.
Wow.
And we never told anybody what was going on. We just disappeared.
Oh, that's sad.
So you never had a last hurrah, so to speak, for the public to know. You knew it, pretty much.
Right. Yeah, pretty much.
I'll tell you, that's like the dark underbelly of music, though, because you pick up any rock book. One of every 2 rock books, you will read a story about something
similar to that.
Well, see, this was after 2 years before that. We did a whole bunch of one-nighters, and maybe 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, band's back, and the guy is driving the truck. He drops off the other road crew, and he's driving and falls asleep at the wheel and dumps our whole truck with all the equipment in Randicoe Bay. Yeah.
Right where the bridge is.
18 foot of water.
So you lost your equipment.
The whole thing.
There's stories of
PA, everything.
Black Sheep went through the same thing.
Black Sheep went through it, and I think the Rustics went through that too, if I'm not mistaken.
So the insurance company says, well, that's water damage. You're not covered. So we were going, okay. So I said, no, it's not. It's collision. All the equipment smashed into each other. So Dave and I are throwing amplifiers on the ground and
we're looking at
busting his drums. And then I get a call from the agent and said, oh, I'm sorry. Everything's covered. You had...
No, you got a little mixed up in the sense that the insurance company, they go and hire somebody from Eastman School of Music to come down and prorate. And this has been dragged in out of the bar. This has been.
They're looking at smashed equipment now.
Well, not even smashed so much as the fact that this is stuff that's used, so the value from then is now prorated like half of what the stuff was worth.
Well, yeah, they're going to do that.
Yeah, of course.
So they did pay us to have all our speakers rebuilt.
I'll tell you, Led Zeppelin was just blessed. Thug as he was, Peter Grant, because they didn't let anybody rip them off.
Oh, wait a minute. Ripped off? Yeah, we got ripped off in Boston while we were playing with Aerosmith.
Oh yeah.
Up St. Patrick's Day, we're playing with Aerosmith, and they're on stage. Our stuff is down in the hallway. 2 guys come in the back door, stole Mike Marconi's Les Paul guitar, a whole bunch of clothes and some other equipment stuff, and took off with it. Now we go, what the hell, right? So the word went out real quick, and bottom line was they got brought back with our stuff pretty quick, and like within an hour and a half.
So you got it back?
By the Boston cops.
Yeah. And then these guys were taken away, and word on the street was they got their ass kicked out a little bit.
It's funny.
They were doing this a lot.
I got a good one, too. It always seems to happen with Aerosmith. We're playing at KKK's, and we came out after the gig, and the car's gone.
Our car was
stole our car.
It's parked in the garage down the street, Kenmore Square.
Oh, my God.
And then somebody stole the car, so everything we knew, we had to go back to New York, obviously. So,
never got the car back?
Never.
No, that thing was
Nope.
Sold probably the same night.
That stuff amazes me because I remember when I was playing
big huge Mercury Marquis.
It was a Mercury with a 350.
Yeah.
I was playing with Jerry Mandel and those guys back in the day, Rich Burley, so we had a trio. So we were playing at the Cordial.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we're at the Cordial. We go in one Saturday to practice or something, and there's no PA. And we tell the guy, hey, our PA's gone. Okay, well, it's the Cordial, okay? So, needless to say, a few days later, okay, we found your PA. Okay, where was it? Well, it was in some kid's garage, but we got him, or we had something about some baseball bats were involved. So I won't. You figure it out. But
somebody stole my bass.
That stuff happens.
I think, but the thing when some person stole my bass probably did for the good of music, consider how I was.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's amazing how people have the cojones to do that.
When you're talking about some of the bigger crowds, we did a gig at the Auditorium Theater. And John Mayall and the Blues Breakers was a headline. B.B. King was number 2, and we were the first act.
Right.
Nice.
So,
wow.
But how that got matched up, we were flash bomb loud.
Right.
It's rock and roll, and then you're going to go from that to B.B. King to John Mayall. And
we played Maggot Brain by the Funkadelic.
Right.
So we got written up in the paper as being vulgar.
But also, you got to think of the other way of an opening act. You're the first ones on stage to make the impression. They have to follow you.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was total mismatch.
Yeah.
Hard rock compared to, these are blues players. And
they did that a lot in the old days.
Yeah, it's like when
they could get that shit.
You would see Weird Billy in the old days.
Right.
Like, great.
I seen the Eagles at the War Memorial, which is the Blue Cross Arena now. The Eagles and Emerson, Lake, and Palmer.
Oh,
that's
wow.
a mismatch.
Holy crap.
72, I believe that was.
Well, we played with Cheap Trick.
Wasn't it Poco? Excuse me.
Might have been.
Maestro.
Here he is, ladies and gentlemen.
Danny Calvary.
Wasn't that Poco?
Could have been.
Because I was there for that.
Were you?
They opened Emerson, Lake, and Palmer.
And Poco?
Opened up for Poco.
Could have been.
And I didn't even know. No one had ever heard of them, and
yeah.
They were
it was
great,
like,
too.
wow, who are these guys?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to say that.
It's okay.
No, we love these.
Jump right in
He's
there.
our fact checker.
Their live album is great.
It's our fact
Stay
checker.
away for ABC.
Fake news.
So we played
Go back to the control booth.
We played a gig with Cheap Trick at the Orange Monkey, and they were just starting out at the time. And after we finished the gig, the crowd walked out on them.
Oh, but see, now I have a good
Really?
Cheap Trick story for you. As you talk about mismatch, my brother band New Math played with them at the Penny Arcade, and they threw bottles and stuff at New Math. They were like cinema. A new way. They just didn't fit with them.
Yeah.
They had Hamer guitars in the back room.
Oh, yeah. The guy from Keith, he had like 13 guitars.
Oh, yeah.
Nielsen.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Then we played with Melissa Manchester, that's kind of a mismatch. But
Yeah.
They actually flew us in from Toronto.
Where we're still playing.
We're playing down, so they flew us in for an afternoon gig down in Manhattan Square Park. They provided us with all the equipment. And then I think it was Dave gave Melissa Manchester a rose.
No, I gave her a dozen roses.
Okay.
I really suck at going.
Ooh.
So she was thrilled over that. So we jumped back on the plane, flew back to Toronto, and we told the stewardesses we were Aerosmith. And they were all over the house.
You got bands kicked out of hotels. And that's an old story in McLaughlin. Bless him, I got to meet him a couple times. He told me about how they would have like the faces would get thrown out of hotels. So what they would do is they would register as family, and then they'd kick family out of the hotels because they thought they were them.
The band called Family.
Yeah, I remember Family, like the movie and those types, because they were on the same label.
Yeah.
Elvin Bishop, yes.
Oh, yeah, played with
Elvin Bishop.
And Heat. Elvin Bishop, we played with Mountain.
Ronnie Montrose.
Yeah, Montrose.
Damn.
Black Oak, Arkansas.
Oh, so I have one about that, though. I saw them at the festival tent, and Jim Dandy was bombed and fell off the stage.
That had to be a good show.
He was pissed because I had the same red pants on. He was pissed. He thought I copied his, wardrobe.
Why, you're not David Lee Roth.
No. No, I'm not.
But you had a cool
Probably
image.
sing better than David Lee Roth, though.
I was just looking at something I wrote down here, and Chet Catello, he was...
Oh, Chet.
Chet came back from Texas, and Well, the situation with happening with Marconi and the Alice Cooper band,
Right.
et cetera, and we were over at living at Henrietta Highlands at that point. We had the stuff set up in the apartment. The place was like a ghost town during the day. Everybody went to work.
Yeah.
And Chet came in, and we were in the living room there and jammed away for.
I was going to ask too. Is
3-4
there any way?
hours.
Is there any way to get a hold of some of your stuff, or are you going to re-release it, or?
Well,
Is there hope?
Well, Dave's got a double CD. Some of the stuff, like from the Thurston Theater, that's really weak.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't recorded well, and it sounds distant.
Yeah.
You know.
Someone brought up Dave Anderson's name to try and salvage.
Yes.
Some of
As a
this stuff.
matter of fact, I had a whole bunch of stuff that I gave Dave Anderson.
Did you?
He put a CD together with some other stuff that I had with different bands and drums.
Okay. So we're gonna release that as locally and make like 100 copies to start. Put it out on the market. I mean, there's maybe with all the fans you guys have had over the years, including
Nostalgia's
myself,
pretty big. I mean, people would probably want it.
Right. Well, I suppose we could, we could,
we
get on the internet and find out, how many funeral parlors and food left. Because
That's what I was. That's what I was thinking.
A wide reach of the carnival too. I mean,
There's got to be 100 of us out there.
I would think out of the whole.
Change $5. Ooh, we're rich.
Yes, true. You have $500 in your account again.
Right.
We got
a band.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have to know, if you know Dave Barnes, I mean, this guy will make you laugh no matter what the scenario, no matter what the situation. Dave will make you laugh. He's a wonderful guy. I tell you.
Oh, thank you very much.
I've known Dave now, I don't know what, about 15, 18 years maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Met you at Smokin' Joe's.
Playing at Smokin' Joe's.
Yeah.
Smokin' Joe's bar, yeah.
It's been
Every
very
Sunday.
interesting and very fun. The thing that I get out of this, again, is that it just seems like we've lost this idea of fun with music in some ways, like the era. It just seems like it's such a great time, a lot more free.
Yeah.
Just anything goes. Yeah, you kids doing what kids do, getting a little wild, but you were venting, you were having a good time. Where now there's just something about it. It just seems.
Well, as we get older, you take a step or two back. There's a whole new generation of musicians in Rochester. They're doing their thing. I watch what's going on through Facebook. There's all kinds of concerts and shows, multiple bands. This weekend there was a couple things going on. Pittsford had a whole afternoon of music. Then they had the fireworks last night. Again, as you get older, you start taking a step or two. You slow down a little bit.
Well,
so
the world music thing is coming in. The world with all the different instruments. Have you ever heard Robert Plant do Zeppelin songs in a world music style?
Yeah, Zoso. You ever hear
don't even
Zoso?
recognize.
That's like really. If you get Zoso with him and Page, where they do it with the African music.
Yeah, that's no quarters.
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying to bring in all these other elements to keep things alive, but I mean, it has changed a lot. It's not just a fun thing anymore. It's become like really super business. And then you got the Billie Eilishes of the world and the Taylor Swifts of the world.
Oh, boy.
She's catching up quick to Billie.
Well, she gets a lot of free promotion during the football games with the San Fran, that's for sure.
But I do know.
It's shameful that she doesn't have any money, though. But she got a great singer with no money.
Yeah. But I do know a lot of, like, on the local scene, a lot of younger musicians. There's some great talents, and I wish them well. I love seeing their progress over the years. But it just doesn't seem as fun as that. I don't see anyone waiting for a bullet conscriptor to drop.
Yeah, that's kind of missing.
You know what I would have done?
Probably makes it the National Geographic.
I would have known, because I have that wicked sense of humor. If I would have known about that, I'd go back in time travel. I'd get a stuffed steak and I'd throw it at you.
Well, we had a rubber snake.
I had a rubber snake, and it used to scare the hell out of some people sitting in the front row because it looked.
I mean, they're not. If you know about them, they're not bad. That's like Alice was probably bombed out of his mind when he had the thing out of him.
When I was with Circus, we had clowns. A couple of the girls would dress up in the clown outfits, and
Extra Rouge.
And they would throw candy. Does that count?
Wait a minute. Let's not leave out Gee Whiz the Juggler, and what was the sword swallower?
Gee Whiz the Juggler.
The magician.
Bubbles?
The magician.
Can't think of it.
We had a magician
That
that used to come up like at the Fantasy Swing, and he would during the break, he'd swallow swords and blow flames out.
Well, you know when you go see a show,
It's a
but you would
bonus.
see a show, like if you went to see Elvis or something, you'd see like a comedian or a juggler. It would be a whole different thing of all these acts.
Dante the musician, that's who it was.
Dante the musician.
Magician.
Okay.
We bought his Cadillac, and that's the first Fleetwood Brougham, because he used to get chained up and escape from the trunk in it.
Wow.
And finally, he wanted to let it go, so we bought it.
You guys bought it.
Did you find the secret switch in the trunk?
No,
Okay.
but we did hire him for shows in town.
That's cool. See, you guys really put a lot of thought into it. I'm impressed, because now it's like, should we get an agent? What should we do? How do we get to the next level? And I'm like, dude, how about putting some work into it, hire some people, make it a serious endeavor, and make it a business.
Well, let's talk about the movie screens that we had on stage. And in the beginning of the shows, there would be an Atlas missile going off on both sides of the stage. There was another movie we used to show called The Neighbors. And during our rock and roll tunes, all of a sudden the neighbors would get in the fight and start beating each other with boards.
You guys are very creative. I mean, I never knew
You got two 60-millimeter projectors on either side of the stage showing this, and then it had one of those overhead projectors where you pour some water in there with a saucer.
Right.
You're regular Hawkwind up there.
Well, see, now, you were saying about the way things are changing. Back then, you had to physically work up your stuff, physically go somewhere, physically play, go through all the rigors of touring and stuff, and buy stuff, make a show.
The drums.
Now, okay, let's find some computer geek, and he can do all this stuff, and we can do Zoom shows, and we can do. I mean, it's become so much. I don't know. It's a different art form, it's a different craft, and it's a different amount of work, but it's not the same. It's just to me, a lazier approach to it. To me,
well, you got to look at for the longevity of our band at that point. You're spending not only 3 hours on stage, before, after, living in the same hotel, riding in the same car, all over Hell's Half Acre.
Right.
So you get to know everything, and we'd be rolling down the highway with an acoustic guitar, coming up with the tune. The next chance we got to rehearse, and
all five of you in the same car.
Yeah.
It's not like these days where it's like, I don't know if this person could sing, but we'll make them a star. They have a look.
Right.
It's all produced.
It's hard. It's tough. Like you say, I mean, you're together all the time.
Yep.
Driving, sleeping, playing,
eating,
and then rinse and repeat.
Yep. On the road,
and it was like if somebody got sick, you played anyway.
Yeah.
I was actually going to ask about this. I saw Jolie Holland last night. She came up with a mask, and she said they had like a relative they visited like by Buffalo, and she's from Texas. Said, don't ever go by a sick baby without anything. And she said she didn't know she'd be able to do the show. But, you don't realize that you're playing all these gigs, you've got to make money. You're sick, you play. I seen Dave Alvin when he was, feeling like utter crap.
Yeah.
Ozzy, when you could hear he had a really bad cold.
When Todd Rundgren was here, he had a cold. Yeah. You could tell. I mean,
yes,
he did it anyway.
Diversity Inn on Scottsville Road with their great big, that's when Jack Trio owned it, I believe. Great big lighted dance floor.
The lighted dance floor, the squares.
From the stage was about 3.5 feet, and then there's this gap in between the dance floor, and I'm wearing the platform shoes. Everybody's got that whole thing. Step off the stage in between. I go, crack. I go,
Yeah, nice.
For a drummer, my ankle just went.
Yeah, then you're saying, that was a good stunt.
How the hell are you playing platform shoes?
Exactly.
I
ruined many Speed King covers.
Why don't you wear rolling
shoes?
Yeah. But this has been so interesting and fun. I'd love to do 4 hours, but attention spans these days. So thanks a lot for coming on, guys.
I learned so much.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thanks.
This was great.
Now, anything you want to add, and then we will play after that great song at the beginning that I could still hear in my head. We'll play. What do you want to play at the end?
We'll probably do a Midnight Lady.
I think Midnight Lady.
Was that the first song? I forgot what the title of the first song is called.
I think it says the remix.
Yeah.
I got it right down in the CD.
Okay. Because the first song was, I forgot the title of the first
song. What a shame.
Yeah, What a Shame.
What a shame, right.
Yeah, I can hear the lyrics in my head still, but...
And so, it's to wind it up, is it nap time yet?
Nap time. Yes, okay. It's a little different these days.
You guys want to jam?
Yeah.
So, listen,
I'll get my green coat on and violin.
I want to thank.
You got him a ratty green tuxedo. I'll tell you.
I want to thank Dave Barnes and Bob Murray for coming on the show today. It was really a lot of fun. I knew it would be. And
thank you, Steve, for having the
this has been great. Thanks, guys.
Oh, so
great
you were
time.
Bob Marley, though, when you opened the van, smoke came out of it.
Yeah, you got it.
Because it was a possibility.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Okay, over
Thank
and out.
you.
Bye.
Okay, take care.